This is for educational purposes only. What I'm sharing here is about how the mind works, how memories and emotional patterns shape your life. This is not medical advice, and it's not a replacement for your doctor or your therapist. If you have any physical or emotional health concerns, make sure you talk to your qualified professional before making any decisions. Take what works, be smart, take care of yourself. And remember, you're not broken, you're just running a program.
Have you ever wondered why you feel so screwed up? You've tried everything, therapy, coaches, self-help, but life still doesn't work the way you want it to. You're experiencing difficult relationships. You feel sick, helpless, and you feel like you just rather die. Reactions you don't understand, patterns that keep repeating, no matter how aware you become. And the hardest part is, it feels like an endless battle. It's like something in there shaping how you feel and how you respond, but you can't fully see it or access it, or you're just afraid to get close to it. Robert Jean will be your trusted guide to give you the life you want. He is the founder and the CEO of Skills to Change Institute, the creator of Eutaptics and FasterEFT, known as the Einstein of the mind. Robert has spent over 4 decades helping people rewrite memories, shift emotional patterns, and create measurable, lasting change. Before we get started, hit subscribe so you can grow with us every single week, and send this podcast to a friend. I'm your co-host, Crystal Dirksen, and here is your host, Robert Jean.
Very
Hi.
good. What?
Hey, Robert.
All right, very good. It's interesting. The when you read this, it seemed like a common story I hear. Everyone has these programs. Even I started. I'm sure you did too. What's wrong with me? Why do I have these problems? When we try a lot of things, still got the problem.
Absolutely. Feeling like there's always something wrong, broken.
Trying
Yeah.
everything, still. You go to these things and you feel good for a little bit, but all the stuff is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my search. Why am I so screwed up? What's wrong with me? And of course, having the most common emotional feelings, I'm broken, something's wrong with me, it's my fault, I'm guilty, I'm tormented with my past. So, because I've been doing this work for 27 years, working on one-on-one with people. My journey started in the early 90s, working on myself, or actually even earlier than that, when I started 15, trying to figure out what's going on in my head, why I have these nightmares, why I have all this stuff and this continual struggle in life. It's like there's anger there, there's hurt there, there's something, and
Yes.
even today, this age that I currently am, I look back and go, what really happened? What really happened? What was it that had such a major impact? And there's been major points in my personal growth, because I started with church, religion,
Mm-hmm.
and then I discovered, started reading about the mind. I read a book by Wayne Dyer's Your Erroneous Zones, and that kind of shifted my perception a bit. And so then I started looking at the mind, psychology, big psychology and series
Mm-hmm.
that my grandmother bought me, Bible study, studying the Bible. And one of the things that really caught my interest is that, even Freud, he has a lot of weird thoughts and weird concepts, but he did made a point to me is that your past impacts your present, because they're going to look around the past. Now, of course, um, insight therapy, which you probably have plenty of insight therapy to understand why you're broken, why you got these problems, but it doesn't change anything. So even though we go back and we look and why am I so messed up? Why is it the way it is, And so um, knowing how and why and what happened still doesn't change what your brain does to you.
Right. Yeah. So why do we have problems?
Why do we have problems? Well,
Yeah.
the truth is you don't have problems. You have undesirable successful outcomes. That means your brain is producing and translating the world based on what has gone inside you. So, If you start at the beginning, the true beginning of everybody's life, you're born. And before you're born, your environment was there before you got there. Whoever raised you, whether it's your mom, your grandma, or someone else, they had their own emotional dynamics. They had their own emotional beliefs, their own attitudes, their own fears, hurts, worries, positive stuff, and negative stuff. And since you're born in this environment impacts you, the child. So, which means it could be 5 kids in the same family, but each child has a different environment, different scenarios. The oldest one versus the youngest one. If you were born in an environment and your brother or sister above you hated you because you took their limelight and they're mean to you, you have a different world than what they had. They had their own jealousy and insecurity. So our world starts to impact us. Now, here's, a lot of people have seen the Bruce Lipton, the scenario that the single cell and the environment impacts the cell. And that's true. That's a single cell. But when you got a set of twins, they're identical, but they end up acting differently. Why? Same environments. And the variable that makes a big difference is consciousness and focus. You go to the movie, one of them focus on love and the other one focus on drama.
Right.
Same
Yeah.
movie, same environment, same theater.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the big variable that makes a difference is we have conscious focus, we have conscious play and replay.
Right. So can you explain that a little bit that I can understand? Like, so focus, when you're talking about focus, is that like a perceptional view? Is that a perceptional position? Is that
Well, it's basically what the individual focus on, notices, catches their attention. By the way, by the way, it's what they see inside and what they choose to focus on, and whatever they focus on could be amplified, could be built upon, could be groomed. So even though we got twins, they look at the same event, but one is looking at X and the other is looking at Y.
right? But that's a
So,
perception, right?
well, perception is developed by focus and experiences. So your perception of things can be developed by what you focus on. It's like somebody will be punched in the arm.
Right.
One will be focusing on the pain and noticing the pain, and the other person will be focusing on the individual's face or the expression. So they focus on that, and whatever they focus on will be built upon.
Right.
And therefore, built upon creates perception, creates programming, and creates attitudes and beliefs, etc., as is built on.
Okay. So it's more about what you're focusing on.
It's the focus.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's how same environment,
Yeah.
different areas of focus that people choose to focus on.
Yeah. But wouldn't that be created from memories too, then? From,
Well, yeah, there's an element here of progression.
okay.
Like, say for example, now, of course, guys, I work with the worst of the worst traumas. So just kind of let you know that I have worked with the worst possible deaths, murders,
Mm-hmm.
abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, war memories. I worked with it all. So I have a very practical application, understanding how to flatten out things. And I also talk about real life experiences. Okay. So I'm not afraid of these. I'm very used to this. It's just a normal routine of helping people with this. So when I talk about specific traumas, now again, I should lay down what a trauma is. Now, I'm going to speak from the brain's point of view, or from the brain's point of view, not from conscious point of view. All right, from the brain's point of view, from birth onward, it captures the world as we experience it. So therefore, it's going to take it in, whatever the experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's going to take it in. Now, the brain doesn't judge it bad or good. The brain says, okay, this is our world. This is our environment. I got to use this. I got to organize this and create something to be prepared for the next time. All right. So the brain doesn't judge memories bad or good. It just organizes because again, your brain's job is to keep you alive and safe. Also keep you in alignment with what you're familiar with. So depending on which kind of environment you come from, your brain's still going to take this stuff in and it's going to organize it. If this the most simplest form of understanding of the mind is basically the limbic operating system. Now, the limbic operating system is an encoding system and a storage system and a production system. So your brain
Yeah.
is a pair of amygdalae, and basically means there's two of them, one on each side. Now, of course, most people call it the amygdala, but it's actually there's two. Now, what happens with these two is they're the great organizers. That means when I say dog, these girls will pull up a dog, and whatever I say about the dog, they will start adding to it. So I say a dog, you have a dog in your mind, then I say Great Dane, it creates a Great Dane by pulling in and giving color, etc. Then I say it's a black one, then you brain. So these girls, I call them girls, or they could be guys too, depends on who you are. But they've had 50 cups of coffee. They're so fast. As I say words, your brain also is just immediately creating and manifesting. What it does, it brings in, organizes, and spits out all at the same time very quickly. So when you understand that, the processing of the world, your brain, you experience the world, your brain captures, organizes, stores, and puts out something. And so that's throughout your whole life. And again, so you may have an experience, say it's an emotionally intense experience. You go numb and dumb, you go glossy eyed, but your brain still organizes and put this stuff in the background. You may even forget that it ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're going to fight, you're going to run, you're going to freeze, or you're going to fawn. You just give in to whatever's happening. So your brain organizes information. Now, how it organizes information, and it spreads it all across the brain, all across the cortex. It's not in one location. So it'll have images, it'll have sounds, it'll have sensations, it have body movements, it has all sorts of information based on one single experience. Now, this is way beyond conscious awareness. This system is an amazing system. After it's all said and done, you forget about it consciously, but your mind organizes and will process it. So how your brain processes information, like I said, visually, auditorily, kinesthetically, taste and smell. It's that simple. Now, to the brain, memories are just resources. If you watched a movie, that movie becomes a resource, even though it's not real, but the brain processes it as if it were real. Your grandmother tells you a story, a horrible story about some event in her life. Your brain will take that information, create a memory, and use it for you. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
say it's bad. It doesn't say it's good. It just, this is how it is. So I call the unconscious, the limbic operating system, the intelligent idiot. That
Mm-hmm.
means it's very smart, but it
Yeah.
doesn't judge it bad or good. It just utilizes it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you
Absolutely.
so if you come in
Survival.
this, yeah, it's basically a survival system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's way beyond conscious awareness of what happened. And a lot of times we have events we don't even remember, but it still helps us choose and make decisions and feel
Right.
and act certain ways. So that's
Yeah.
that's the ground floor. So when we talk about PTSD or trauma, PTSD or trauma to the brain is an education. It's exposure.
Yeah.
To the brain, a trauma is an intense experience that educate you and helps you to survive with that. So having a surprise birthday party where you are the queen and then you feel so wonderful, so loving, to the brain, that's a great, intense emotional experience. It's also called a trauma, but a positive trauma.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Now, again, to the brain. Now, remember, the brain is neutral. Nothing is bad, nothing is good. It just is, right?
Right. So we're labeling it as a positive trauma and a negative trauma just for clarity or
Yeah, just for clarity, because it's
okay.
merely because trauma is just an education how to survive in the world.
Right.
That's it,
Exactly. It's
bad or
survival.
good.
Yes. And it
Right.
doesn't matter if like this week I was working on a memory of a movie. It's not real, but it's Whitney Houston is the bodyguard, Whitney Houston, and she couldn't be with him. And there was so much grief and loss because of that movie, because there's like these two lovers that can't be together.
Mm-hmm.
But the way my brain took that information, like, so this is actually really good. I've been going through music, through songs, through movies that I've watched in the past, and that movie, I can't even listen to "I Will Always Love You," but now I play it every single day because I'm practicing. I can play it. I don't have to grieve.
Mm-hmm. So you're working on your personal experiences of loss and pain and hurt, right? That's
Yes.
again, remember the song is a metaphor of an internal creation and experience that you have or having.
Right.
Right. So again, so this is your survival system, your brain operating system, loss, grief, love, pain, whatever it is, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So again, this is how the brain translate the song, gives meaning to the song based on your inner references
Mm-hmm.
and experiences that are not so positive or positive, depending on how you translate it.
Right. So it's not just the movie. Because I watched the movie. Okay, so this has nothing to do with the movie.
Mm-mm.
Okay, sorry.
Now remember, here it is. You have to think about it.
Yeah.
Trauma. Let's say, for example, um, you know, a really bad experience. You guys know what your bad experience is. So whatever your bad experience is, that experience didn't cause the PTSD. It didn't cause the trauma. It's an education. So what is it is PTSD? PTSD is your brain system utilizing what it took in. The key is what it took in from the external experience. So it's again, you can blame the movie and hate the movie and people who sang the song and blame the movie for your inner reaction and perception. So if you understand this, we've had things happen to us that hurt us, harmed us.
Mm-hmm.
But today it doesn't exist. We're not there anymore. So our PTSD is to your brain's education, internalization, and survival system operating now what's happening in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So the trauma didn't cause us PTSD, or the experience didn't cause us PTSD, but rather what our brain brought in, took in, organized, and used on us. So that means some people can have, like I said, the exact same experience. No trauma, no PTSD, nothing. Why? Because their brain didn't utilize that, didn't process that, didn't create something that'll make you cry when you hear the song.
Right. But didn't it take in the information? Like, it's bits of information that's coming in, but
When
it's
you
not.
say it, the movie or your
Yeah, like
brain,
let's say like a traumatic event or even a movie. Like, why would some people cry and some people not?
because it's the translation of your
Right.
brain. It's not the movie.
So it's the past information that's already in there that the brain has
Yeah.
already captured.
Yes, yes. It's again. Remember, there's two worlds. There's the lower mall of the world, which means the movie made me feel bad. Which
Right.
means you're going to have to avoid all movies with love songs in it. So therefore,
Yes.
movies have power over your ability to be happy.
Right.
You're going to blame your problems today because of your childhood. You're going to blame your problems because you're a woman, or you're a Mennonite, or you're Chinese, or you're African, or because of your astrology sign, numerology sign. You're looking to blame. So that means there's no power.
Yeah.
You're a victim of the world. That's lower mile of the world. Upper mile of the world says, okay, I'm triggered by this movie. It's bringing up emotions from within me, which means it's the internal representation that's giving you that reaction to just a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So upper mile world says, okay, my mind has references that's creating this feeling inside me for a reason, for a purpose, right? And
Right.
again, we have a tendency, lower mile world blames everyone for our problems. My dad screwed me up. My mom screwed me
Right.
up. My history screwed me up. My husband screwed me up. My next door neighbor screwed me up. And then again, by the way, that's what we call lower model, victim model of the world.
Right. So why do we, I understand in our society, we really have been trained to live in the lower model of the world. Like, what are some of the reasons like that you see like the majority of the people living in the lower model of the world
Yeah,
blaming, pointing fingers? Why?
because they're ignorant. They just don't know.
Lack of knowledge.
Yeah, they just don't understand. The
Okay.
key is there's a lot of spiritual teachers out there, and they give you some really good concepts. Forgiveness is one, not taking things so personal is another. I mean, there's a lot out there. But the true deal, a lot of this is really great philosophy. But even though you logically understand it, it doesn't change the number one cause.
Mm,
The number one cause. And if it, what is that number one cause? So that
yeah.
number one cause is internal neurological information. How your brain encoded, created, organized, that's the events in your life that it uses to produce sadness, anger, hurt, and pain. It's
Mm,
memories. It's your limbic operating system in taking the world from, now again, if we're talking from the brain, to the brain, depression is a good thing. To the brain, being sad and crying because of a movie is a good thing. It's keeping you in alignment with your inner world. It's keeping you in alignment with your trainings of your past. It keeps you in alignment with your mother, your brother, your sister, your aunt, and your uncle, your ex-boyfriend, whoever it is, because it has to encapsulate the world. It has to create a model world in which we are to maneuver through the jungle of our life. So
mhm.
it's just strictly a survival system,
Right. Hmm.
right? Now let's go to consciousness now. We're going to move
Okay,
away
yes, that's
from
exactly what.
consciousness, right?
Yes. Yep.
So consciously, you don't know why you act the way you do.
Right.
You know, your
Yeah.
sister torments the hell out of you. Your mother doesn't like you. Your father doesn't like you. You go to school and you feel scared. There's something wrong with you. Now you join some of these groups. One group says it's because,
They're narcissists.
we can do that. They're narcissists. We can blame their
Yeah.
patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. We can blame them.
Or if they're narcissists, again, we're a victim to their behaviors. Or better
Hmm.
yet, you go to church. So what does church tell you?
Oh.
Religions tell you.
Oh, that you're a sinner.
Yeah. And what does a sinner mean? What does that mean to be a sinner?
It means that you've completely missed the mark.
Mark of what?
That
So you had
you're
so
you're broken and you're a sinner. You need forgiveness. You need a savior. You need
mhm,
Jesus. You need Jesus.
yeah, yeah. Now, of course, what Jesus taught and what the church says is a little bit different. But let me
True.
just say this: I look at models of thinking. So again, I come from the Christian model. Now, the Christian model is different than the Jesus model. There is a difference. Most people don't know the difference. Most people don't even, they're Christians. They join a group and they just join the group. They actually aren't a disciple of Jesus. That means they really don't know what he taught. They know about what Paul taught versus Jesus taught. Now, if you don't know the difference, Google it. Google what did Jesus taught versus what Paul teach. That's a very practical. But I'm not here to share that thing. But the model is this: there's something wrong with you, something broken. There's a
Yep.
dark mark,
Yep.
and it's your fault. You're guilty. Someone died because of you. Right? That's a model. Now, again, that is a different model than the original guide that they started with, but that is a model of thinking. Now, let's push religion completely out of the way. Christianity,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you believe. Now, I do believe in believing in truth. I do believe following truth. I do practicing truth. All right. So
Hmm.
now let's go back. Let's say, for example, you're an atheist.
Mm.
You have no God. You don't believe in God. Why are you
Right.
Why are you so broken? What's wrong with you?
Mm.
Well, ego. That's what's wrong with you. You got an ego. Egotistical. Now, again, if you look at, there's a book I read. It's by Eckhart Tolle. I think The Power of Now. And he said something very smart in that book. One thing he said really smart. He said, ego is just merely accumulation of experiences,
Mm.
right? And then what he did? He created what you call the straw man, called the ego. A straw man is just clothes with straw in it, and they put it out in the field to keep the crows away. Which basically is not really a man. It can't fight back. It can't do anything. So then he goes on to say, ego is causing all your problems. All right. So if some will say ego is edging God out, which means you are operating from your own programming, your own thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, so why would people act badly? Is it because of ego? And what does ego mean? Well, ego in my world is just a survival system you learn to stay alive and to survive. The ego will say, be nice to people, and they'll be nice to you. The ego says, drive on the right side of the road so you won't get hit. The ego says, brush your teeth. You'll keep all of them. Right?
Mm.
So again, they created what you call the straw man or the evil part of this. Now, why would they do that? Because see, listen, if you think highly of yourself and you are the responsible for your happiness, you're responsible for your successes and your failures. Now you think about it, if I have a religious group or a group, the worst thing I would want you to do is think on your own. I think you'd want it coming from me. I mean, uh, groups, groups are I would say cult. Let's say cults.
Yeah, right.
And we
Mm-hmm.
say cults. Now again, um, if you understand about cults, it's just they have their own special language, they have their own set of rules, and everybody should follow it. You don't follow it, we don't like you anymore,
Right.
basically.
You're out.
All right, so what they see, if they keep you from thinking on your own, they keep you from getting your value from yourself, you're easier to manipulate.
Mm.
Now, again, you think about it, you're born. As you're born into this world, you're born into an environment, and you have these two narcissists, mom and dad. Their sole job is to make sure you grow up and
Ooh.
be as they expect you to be. Now, I don't know about you. I've heard this in my, if you don't knock that smile off your face, I will. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, my dad
So
is
who do you think you are? Somebody?
right.
I
Right.
brought you into this world. I can take you out.
Right. Yep.
And so their job is to make you act and perform the way they think you should act and perform
Mm-hmm.
based on their own emotional systems of thinking and emotions. So then they're going to beat you down. They're going to blame you. Your mother said, I have a headache because of you. Is
Mm.
that lower model of the world and that's a guilt programming? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So these are systems. And again, so the
Right.
thing is for us and for you as an individual, where's your power? Now, again, you're not supposed to have any power based on the whole world's training. The whole world thinks you should do as they think you should do.
Mm-hmm.
And to violate that, you're going to get punished. So
Yeah.
now you're a perpetual victim throughout your whole life.
Mm.
Those who break the rules, and by the way, I collect people who follow me are the black sheep of the world. They're breaking the rules. They don't want to play that game. They're looking for a way out of their systems of
Mm-hmm.
programmings of their past.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is how the world operates. This is how the world processes. And so to go along, to get along, is to do as they tell you to do.
Yeah.
Therefore, keep your mouth shut and do as you're told.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think on your own. Now the
Yeah.
bad thing is you never grew up. You're still acting as if you're living with your parents today.
Mm-hmm.
You're still
Wow.
repeating the emotional patterns over and over again.
That's right. Wow. And it doesn't matter where you go. It could
Now, by the way, you'll gravitate to
oh,
a system you're familiar with, and it may be a little bit easier. You like this one a little bit better than the other one. It's like somebody
right.
saying, "Well, I come from a dysfunctional family." I said, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
no such thing as a dysfunctional family. Every family functions. They have an operating system. It functions so well, you're going to leave it and go find another one just like it. And if you're really good, you find a worse one than what you had.
Mm.
It's a repeating system.
Right.
Now,
Wow.
each family has their own emotional dynamics and operating systems. Now, granted, there are some that are really not so good, but some people never outgrow it because they're still operating from that system. So, what we want to do is to evolve the self. That means improve the quality of oneself. And how you do that is you got to update the inner references inside yourself, your memories, your references. So,
Right. Um, so there are some teachers out there that talk about the different parts of the brain, one being an ancient part, and like there's an emotional brain, the logical brain. What do you say about that? What's the
well,
differences?
yeah, here's the truth. I mean, the brain is a complete operating system. When they say the ancient brain, let me just, it's not really ancient. There's a part of us, they call it reptilian brain, for example.
Right.
It's
Hmm.
not coming from reptiles. What it says, it is the basic survival system. That's all it is. So
Okay.
when you come into this world, you're learning to survive. You're learning how to operate in this world. And
Right.
so what happens, they become imprints, imprinted ideas and values, and family imprints and relationship imprints. So this becomes foundation and fundamental processing of the world. Its whole purpose is to keep you alive and keep you in alignment with it. All right. And then, of course, the emotional brain. Now, you think about it, from my world, from the internal world, how I see it, the kinesthetics, which is the physical reaction, you can call it the emotional world. These are is the brain screaming through your body to catch your conscious attention so you won't get hurt or you prepare yourself for war, battle, or harm. You know?
Okay. So that's where our body begins to express. That's coming from that part of the brain where
But
like
yeah.
when the,
Yeah, let's kind of put things in proper perspective. The body is a neutral system. It
very
doesn't speak, it doesn't cry, but the brain is the one who moves the levers. It tells the body how to respond. The body
Mhm.
responds, but see, here we are, we're ignorant this part up. So we notice this part down. So we notice our body is aching, screaming, panicking, etc.
Mhm.
We translate because we think this body is doing it to me.
Mhm.
But in
Yeah.
reality, it's innocent and it's only expressing what
Yeah.
the brain holds to catch your attention, to keep you where you're supposed to be in alignment with your trainings. And it goes,
Oh, I wish people knew that. Like that is something like if you're listening to this, listen to it again because that is there's so much truth in that. Otherwise you're going to cut out organs and it's not the organ's fault.
no, no. And again, it's so bizarre. It's called body language. Body
Right.
language is that your mind speaks through the body. You know, here it is, you get off the phone with a partner, a male partner, for example, and all of a sudden you have pains in your right leg.
Yeah.
All right. That's body language. So why would your sciatica start to speak up? Well, because your leg represents moving forward, right represents male. So your mind will speak through the body. You know,
Yeah.
you go to the doctor, you got ulcers, and the doctor says you got a bad stomach. Instead of asking you, are you going through a tough time, hard to deal with what's going on in your life?
Mhm.
Every
Yeah.
person who had a gallbladder removed, I go back to your life, what was going on in your life? There was a lot of anger and bitterness going on. And your black gallbladder is speaking bitterness.
Right.
So
Wow.
again, this is the body language. Now, I'm not making this stuff up. You can do your research and see this is
Yeah.
all true.
There's metaphysical connections. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. The mind body connection. It's body language.
Yes. And even when you're in a eutaptic session, this is so fascinating. When you're in a session, you go to like an inner reference. My body will like all of a sudden I'll have like major shoulder pain. Like for like seeing whatever inner reference I'm looking at. Maybe it's, somebody's face. All of a sudden like I'm experiencing so much pain in my body. So we go out of it because this is where the tapping comes in. And I still want you to talk about the tapping, but my body is expressing what it's also feeling with the inner reference.
Yeah. Right. The body speaks from what the mind holds. The
Yeah.
mind triggers the body to catch our attention. Yeah. So yeah. So that's the key. If you keep blaming the body, like there's a book says the body keeps the score. That's not true. It speaks the score. The scorekeeper is the brain.
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
So
that's so good, Robert. So good.
that's true. Now,
Yes.
guys, if you know people who are suffering, send this video to them.
Yes.
Subscribe to these videos. Subscribe to my channel. You know, Do
Yes.
something and invest in yourself. People need to know the truth. It's going to save them a lot of money and a lot of suffering. Trust me on that one.
That's right. And if you absolutely have no money at all, Robert has a 7-day free course. It's free. It's free. And you teach people how to tap, and you're very thorough with the information you're giving people. You're not hiding anything.
No, and also I have free videos on YouTube as well. So there's a lot of videos. So, and
Yeah.
the key is, I know a lot of people, even just this topic, you're popping into your brain, your memories, your references, and you're feeling anxiety, emotions, and feelings. Remember, it's your brain. I don't even know you. I have no idea who you are. I don't even know who's watching this story, but Crystal, all right? So, but it's you. And this is the most powerful thing you could ever learn, that it's your brain.
Yes.
Everything in your brain is yours. Every person inside of your brain is yourself. So that means when you visit a memory of your dad, your mom, your exes, or whoever, they're not in there. They're out there in the world somewhere. But what your brain did, you experienced something, your brain took it, internalized it, and created Crystal, created your husband in your brain, which, by the way, you created based on your references.
Yeah.
All right. So if you get that one single truth,
Mm.
everything in here is mine and I have the right to change it. Everything in my mind is not the real thing. It's fake. It's a Memorex. Yes, I know it happened, but you know why it seems real? Because your body is now responding to the memories. Your brain captured feelings, emotions, and sensations, and then it shoots it through your body to catch your attention. None of that's real today. You're here with me watching this video.
Hmm.
So if you get that one thing, if Robert is saying is true, you can go and update how you represent things. It doesn't change what happened in your past. You know why? You can't change something that doesn't exist anymore. But when you adjust your references in your head, it doesn't change history. It only changes one thing: what your brain will give back to you again when you watch a movie.
Hmm.
It's your brain doing it to you. It's
Yeah.
your brain. I suggest learning how to use it for good.
Right. Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely. All right. So like talking about memories that are not accessible, what happens when there's an experience? I don't know if it's not fully, it wouldn't be fully processed, but what happens to, it's imprinted, there's memories that are not accessible. Can you talk a little bit about that and maybe some research?
Yeah. That's definitely a good thing to talk about. So here, because I work with a lot of people who have weird behaviors, weird illnesses, weird uh, patterns that really cause them harm, and they don't know why. I see this a lot in chemical sensitivities, um,
Mm.
fibromyalgia, ME, highly sensitive to food, smells, energies, etc. People who heavily depressed, anxious, nervous, fearful, pissed off. All of these are oftentimes creations or expressions of memories known and memories unknown. Of course, that's the key, memories unknown, because you have to understand, like I was talking to somebody, well, I never remember this. I never go back to that memory to recall it. And I said, I understand that, but it doesn't mean it doesn't drive your bus. It does drive your behavior without you thinking. A perfect example, you can write a piece on a check, write out a check or write a note on a piece of paper with pen, and you can perfectly write out a nice sentence or two. Now, the ability to do that didn't start today. And I venture to say when you write on a check, you go, okay, I'm in kindergarten and I see the letters on the alphabet above the chalkboard and I'm writing on this piece of paper. You don't go back and remember the very first time you wrote R, right? You don't. You
Yeah.
just immediately write it out because you're programmed and you have it installed. These are memories installed.
Yeah.
And a lot of times weird behaviors show up, not knowingly why. A perfectly good example, Linda Heisman, I think she was like 65 years old when she started this system.
Hmm.
And she clearly said, for most of my life, ever since I was 10 years old, I had all kinds of weird physical pains. I had pain here, pain there, pains everywhere, not knowing why. And all these pains would drive me. And I spent years in therapies. I did this, I did that, I did EFT, I did all these things. I still had pain. And throughout the years of therapies, people asked me the same question. Have you ever been sexually abused? She said, never, nothing, ever, zero, no memory, no knowledge of it whatsoever, nothing. But people ask because they can kind of see the writing on the walls. They look like something, not knowing what it is. The truth is, no memory, right?
Hmm. Yep.
So now she's taking my course and she's working on herself. And of course, I have a really good system to get in and clean up stuff. And she's working on a leg pain she's had ever since 10 years old. And she adopted the pain away. Pain's completely gone. She said, my mind started giving me memories I had no memory of events that occurred. And sure enough, I was sexually abused by my father for
Wow.
10 years of my life. Zero memory of it. None whatsoever. No memories of it. Well, that's a really great gift. Her mind just finally gave it to her because then she can go change those memories,
Hmm.
update those memories. So then her body will not be a slave to the history that has occurred. So I've seen this a billion times. I say a billion. I'm kind of over exaggerating a few million, right? Right.
Yeah. So,
But
but how does that work? Like that after, so she's been doing some memory work and then it starts coming to the surface. Like what happens? Like how do you know when, how does the brain know when to give you that information? Are you ready
uh,
for it?
that's a good question. I think the brain has a reasoning for it. I think once they collapse something, something is gone. I don't know why, but the brain does it anyway. So it's kind of weird. Like, I've seen this story a billion times. One woman specifically, she'd been in a mental institution a few times, suicidal, all kinds of stuff. And she said, I had a perfect Catholic upbringing. Had a perfect Catholic family. And of course, she had all this weird behaviors, not knowing why. No reason whatsoever in her mind. None. Um, Booked a session with me, and I was working on a memory. It's a memory of looking at a picture on the wall. Strong intensity with a picture on the wall. As I started working on whatever it is her brain was using, by the way, the brain, if you don't understand this, the brain is a shapeshifter. It shifts problems from person to person, to body part, from image to something. And so as I started working on this, all of a sudden her brain opened up.
Wow.
So Pandora's box started to open, and now we found the truth. The truth is she had a lot of unpleasant experiences. A lot. Of course,
With
when you open the box up, it's a bit scary if you're by yourself, but she had me with her. And we started cleaning these stories up because she was so afraid just to go from her flat downstairs to the market to buy milk. It got to be so bad she was even afraid to go to her own bathroom, not knowing why. But as we cleaned these up, sorted these memories out, she understood why the crazy behaviors were the way they were because of those traumas that the brain tucked away.
So my name's Linda. I began my journey with FasterEFT 3 years ago at level 1 here in Las Vegas, 2016. And I'm 69 now, so I was 66 then, 65. I was bad. I was a mess. I'd spent my life with kind of the three main things. When I was 10, my right leg began to hurt, my right hip. Whatever I did, I was a searcher. I searched, I studied, I was a good student. I tracked the symptoms, I talked to people. When the internets came along, I started looking up and studying, and like Robert said, I bought the book, I went to the course, I got the t-shirt, I got the tattoo, and I had the friends, and I had the connections and the allies, and everybody else had the same stuff. So I had the right leg hip pain, and that came first. And then I had digestive troubles all my life. And my dad, he called it, truthfully or not, that I just didn't want to be happy. It was my decision. And so I fought against that. No, it's really here. It's really here. And yes, I was a child, so yes, it was really real. And yet, what I've learned from here is that was my brain trying to keep me safe and trying to help me find a path for healing. That path has it's been a long and winding road. I tried a lot of things. I spent 40 years in a very strict religion. I was raised by a very religious mother, and she was very strict, and I was given the job of being the perfect example child of living the principles of those religions, so my dad would be with us in heaven. And every little infraction was like, well, your dad's not going to join the church now because you did this. So I have a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of feeling like there must be something broken in me. And the hip pain got worse, the stomach pain was bad. I got, then it was like, the disease of the day kind of for me. There would be headaches, and there would be body pain, and there would be super allergies and skin flare-ups, and it's just like, I was walking medical encyclopedia that nobody knew how to answer or handle. And doctors eventually was like, yeah, you should go to counseling. It must be all psychological. I went to counseling. I talked about it. I had periods of remission, yeah, like all of you maybe have, but did it go away? Yeah, it was better, but then something else would happen. It was like my husband and I finally had to joke about it, because it was like I would fix one thing, and then the next thing would pop up, and if it wasn't food allergies, it was tripping and falling all the time, or if it wasn't tripping and falling, it would be signing myself to teach classes at somewhere, and then I would freak myself out and cancel all the classes and refund all the money, and it was, I was bad. I was very cynical because I tried a lot of things, and I'm a smart person, damn it, and I know that this is going to work. And then I get hopeful, and then I throw myself into practicing the new ideas, the new pathways, the eliminating the foods. I took the, how to become the ultimate therapist kit from Gary Craig. And I could do those techniques and see change in my clients, but I couldn't do it on myself. And I didn't understand why, and it really upset me. Because I'm smart, and I apply myself, and I do the work. But it wasn't working for me. Maybe you feel the same way too. And that's where I was when I walked into level 1. And I did not trust Robert. Because I tried so many things before that I trusted. So it's okay if you don't trust either. But I'm here because this works, and he showed me, even though I didn't believe it at first, he showed me what I was doing, why EFT didn't work. I decided I was strong enough that I could do what Robert is now calling project tapping. And the project I picked was, I had begun to have repetitive experiences of being bullied in my life. And at that time, I was just a year ago, so a little more than a year ago. So I wrote down my list. I figured out how I knew. I did the tapping. I made myself sit there for 2.5 hours while I tapped all those out, changed them all, rewrote them, and I showed up at level 4, and I was like, my leg, the pain in my leg was gone. I had this pain since I was 10, and I was like, oh my God, this stuff works. And I began having flashbacks. And that hip pain was blocking 13 years of childhood sexual abuse memories that I had no memory of. So that was kind of like, oh, so that makes a lot of sense. And finally, I understood that that all these things, the symptoms, the anger, the pain, the fear, the anxiety attacks, they were trying to keep me safe until I was ready to be able to remember and deal with what had really happened that I couldn't remember. And the reason I didn't remember it was because my brain was keeping me safe. I can truthfully say that I stepped out of that weight of the sexual abuse experiences like I was taking off a heavy rain-soaked raincoat. And it's back there. It's not me anymore. It's back there. It's okay. It's changed my life. Robert's invention, his collecting the techniques and tools that work, it's real, it works, and it will change your life. So I feel grateful, I feel gratitude, because I'm a new person.
Now, there's some really good research by Linda Williams. See what she did. She had women who were medically documented childhood sexual abuse, and found that 38% of them did not report the abuse when interviewed 17 years later. So they were abused as a child. 17 years later, they never reported it. They never told anybody. And then later on, the research showed that these women even forgot that they ever were abused. So these, basically the traumas disappeared in their past, completely disappeared. They never reported, never said anything. These were children, documented, of these real bad experiences. And the most bizarre thing about this research, because it was in the 70s when she did this, and then 17 years later, they went and checked these people and see how these women see how they're doing. And the bizarre thing is, it was an in-depth 3-hour session. So they did in-depth 3-hour things. They were referred to by hospitals. They did all the information, got all this stuff, childhood experiences, sexual experiences, life history, everything, And so then when they went back to interview them 17 years later, they didn't preempt them at all. They didn't say, by the way, you remember when you were in the hospital when you were 7, right? They didn't say any of that. So it removes any suggestion, any bias, no leading questions whatsoever. And what they found, 38% of them didn't even remember or even report the abuse ever happened. By the way, these are real cases, medically documented, non-disputed. All right. 1/3 of them had no memory of it ever happening. All right. And then she found that not only these women openly discussed other sexual abuses, other highly important personal events that happened. 68 of them report other assaults. 68% of them other assaults, but they never mentioned the one that started it all.
Wow.
It just faded off into the distance.
And that's the brain keeping them safe.
Safe. Now there's a lot of complexity with this too. There's a lot of complexity. So, by the way, like I said, these were documented, evidence there.
What?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Younger children most likely will forget, but the girls from 7 to 12 show significant recall, or non-recall, and the biggest major contributor is the relationship with whoever did it. If it's someone close, most likely will be forgotten. If it's by strangers, most likely will be remembered. Now, why is that? Why would that be? Because first of all, there's a relationship conflict. There's confusion. There's emotional overload. There's attachment tension. So this is how the brain works. Of course, in 95, worked everybody out, and um,
Well, and that's
it's,
part of the fawn response too. For with the
yeah,
attachment, you need to be near the
yeah,
parent.
yeah. But see, here's another thing too. When you have a major trauma, a negative experience, and it's the caretaker who buys you gifts, feeds you, take you to the store, buys you things, take you, and being a parent. So maybe this happened a few times. I don't know exactly the whole story of that.
Right.
But then on top of it, they start having positive experiences. So then the other is still there in the brain. It still shows up in your relationships later. It still shows up in allowing yourself being abused again by other people later in relationships, dating, etc. It does show up because there is I would call an imprinted value put inside of the unconscious. Now,
Right.
consciously, no one wants that, right? So again, it's unconscious.
Well, yeah,
And
and you said there too that there's like with the patterns, there's a percentage that was higher that started experiencing
yeah, 68% of them
68%.
of other sexual traumas afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me just say this, even though we're talking about sexual trauma, you can take sexual out and you can put emotional abuse trauma. You can take emotional abuse out and you talk about physical traumas, medical traumas, accidents, beatings, same basic scenario because it is, again, how the brain processes information.
Okay. So even if it was a sexual trauma, it may be expressed in patterns, not necessarily sexually.
Well, yes and no, because again, like I said, we talked about in the very beginning, whenever two people have the same experience, it's what they focus on
Oh,
amplifies.
got it.
So again, if the focus on is the pain of that experience, the sexual experience, which I work with a lot of them had the pain of sexual experience, then they become lots of pains other places in their life, in their different parts of the body. It'll be a pain in my shoulder this week, pain in my leg next week. It'll be period pain. It'll be back pain. It'll be this pain. So the pain becomes shifting around. I
Right.
call it, again, it's a shapeshifter.
Right. Okay.
But also, aside from any sexual trauma, without sexual trauma whatsoever, the pattern will be the same with physical beatings. So again, it'll be people will find themselves in jobs and situations where they are physically hurt, or they'll have an illness everywhere, or they'll have sensitivities. When I work with a lot of people with chemical sensitivities, the repeating pattern is this: emotional toxicity at home.
Mm-hmm.
It recycles.
Right. The environment,
Well,
what they're capturing.
we learn from the environment, and we utilize what we want to take from that environment.
Right. So we're focusing on those certain aspects.
It becomes important to our focus.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Yep.
again, like I said, the ones who had the interpersonal relationship with the abusers, oftentimes a couple of things will happen. One, it disappears out of the mind and it shows up in other places in their body and illness. It could, what we call shapeshift. Like I said, it'll become physically ill. It'll become finding yourself in traumatic experiences. Depends on how they process the event.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So again, lots of scenarios with this, lots of different scenarios. So this is how the brain operates. So like you could just have, an accident at school where you are physically hurt really bad. That becomes an imprint. And from that imprint, the pain was great. The brain tucks away. You don't even remember it. But then all of a sudden you're having all kinds of physical traumas outside the world in different places or school stuff,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Right. Exactly. And then the stuff that you're experiencing at home, you'll experience at school as well.
Oftentimes, or
Yes.
it'll be, you could have dual
Yeah.
realities too. It's like
Ooh.
I worked in drug rehab, so I remember dual realities. I worked in
Okay.
drug rehab, volunteer in drug rehab, and of course, when I do a session, I have people give me the worst list, the worst of the worst. So this lady comes in. Now she was a heroin addict. She's in a drug rehab, and so she gave me her traumas. What's your traumas? Well, big trauma she was there at 9/11, witnessed a lot of death and dying, right? Her mother was dying of cancer, and she was, works as an MT, so she gave mom a little extra morphine, and she dies. Very traumatic for her. She also had a boyfriend who didn't do drugs, and she does drugs, and so he comes in, he's so pissed off at her, say, "Why are you doing these drugs? What is it about these drugs you do?" And so he takes a whiff of heroin, and it kills him right in front of her.
My gosh.
So we go trauma, and there's a few more other traumas. And she said, "I don't know why I wrote this on my list because it doesn't bother me at all." I said, "What is it?" She goes, "I'm 70 years old. I'm with my grandfather. My grandfather is on a gurney. He's not feeling very healthy. And he's reading a book to me. And he asked me to go get him a cup of milk. So I go and get him some milk. I came back, and she said, he's dead. He died. No emotions. And she ran from the house crying. And she has never stopped running. Drugs are used to run from my emotions. That's what she's been doing. So once we went there, again, no emotions until I help her get in there, associate.
Yeah.
Boom. That one simple imprint had no emotional recall, just knew it happened.
Yep.
Big tears were cried. We cleaned it all up. And now the system of repeating traumas. By the way, grandfather died. And what does she do for a living? MT, seeing people die too.
Wow. Yeah. That is so interesting how it's all connected. You were going to talk about dual.
Well, you talk about dual worlds. Now, another person, because a lot of times when you grow up in a family, what stays at home, happens at home stays at home. You don't share it anywhere. So you got a weird emotional dynamics at home. But you go to school, you can't bring your problems from home to school. You got to keep it out, numb it out, and you learn a different personality, a different style of operating. So you could be really smart at school. You could be really good at school.
Right.
And you'll create a different personality, a different style.
Right. Yeah, I'm laughing because I've always homeschooled my kids. This is the first year they're going to a public school, and we already received emails like from principals because my kids are like I allow them to have their big emotions. They can express themselves, and I love when they express themselves. So when they express themselves at school, it's not quite acceptable.
Right. So they're now going to have to learn a new environment.
And yes, and at the same time, they still come home, and I tell them that they can still express themselves. I don't want them to be programmed according to it, but at the same time, there's certain things that are acceptable there and not.
Right. Well, again, like I said, so here it is. They don't, because remember, they didn't have a chance to create a different world at school because their home life and their school life was the same system.
Right.
And it doesn't work in society.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they have to learn a new pattern. Right. So, but most people don't have homeschooling, right? So now here it is. We have, you learn a different coping skill at school. Totally different world. And so then you go back home, you go back to the other world. This woman, she's like in her 50s. She says, I really don't understand why my relationship life is so dramatic, so horrible, so bad, but my professional world is great. I'm very successful.
Yeah.
And that's because her brain had two categories of life.
Oh,
and I said, first of all, your home life is a successful life too, to your brain, because it learned to operate within relationships, interpersonal relationship this way. And then you had a different style. But if you take your pattern from home and you put it at work, you're going to screw up your income. You're going to screw up your business life. So the brain does have its way of categorizing, organizing, and shape-shifting. And sometimes they'll end up colliding together and then messing up everything in your life, depending on the emotional events in your world.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So my brain has definitely just added it to every category.
Right now, you're emotionally a roller coaster.
It's in every area. My brain didn't separate that. At home, we didn't hide anything under the rug. Yeah, there were certain, I was trained at home Lots of the yelling, screaming, physical stuff, but it's in the 80s. I mean, you always heard your neighbors yelling. The kids were outside drinking from the water hoses.
Right. Okay.
But so when we went to school, I mean, I met my bullies at school too. I had
Yeah.
this like so for me it wasn't two separate environments. It was another scary place.
Right. Well, yeah. Right. Because you're trained the world is scary. So you see, you take scary everywhere. Some
Yes.
people don't have that. Some people find their place in school, and mine wasn't in school. Of course, granted, I had a worse life at home, but it did impact my learning ability at school. But anyway, so this is basically the
Right.
systems, and of course, the real deal. I hope some of this makes sense to you guys. But the deal is really we have coping patterns, we have belief patterns, we have repeating patterns. And the key to updating these is knowing how to change yourself from inside yourself, address your memories. And of course, when you understand the brain captures the world and it starts recycling the world everywhere you go. So it's going to start creating the same operating systems outside you and it starts repeating the patterns. And that's where the problem is. If you come from an environment that's really emotionally crazy and toxic, you've got a lot of stuff to work on. But
Yeah.
it's doable once you understand that the brain is a metaphoric expression of the past. So the key is one, address where you are now, what's happening now, dissipate, and then locate or identify how what you know that impact you from your past and you change memories. Now, changing memories is the key. Now, you have to understand if I ask you guys how many would like to improve your memory, go ahead, raise your hand. Are you typing the thing? Yeah, that's me. I want to improve my memory. But why would you improve something if it's permanent? Memories are permanent, unchangeable. Not true. Memories are malleable. That's where the neuroscience says neuroplasticity of the mind. You can learn new behaviors. You can update things. So the brain is a metaphoric expression of the past. The past isn't real today. Your unique past internalization is uniquely yours, and you internalize it, you create it, you utilize it, and if you can also change it with skill and preciseness.
So
Now, some people say, I don't want to change my bad memories. They were bad in the past. I want to keep them bad inside me. I said, well, that's a good opinion. That's a good decision. That means you're going to be feeling bad. You're going to be controlled by bad people, and you're going to act that way because memories here are only for you.
mhm.
Memories in your mind is a program on how you do yourself and or how you let people do you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You'll attract it, you'll find it, you'll re-experience it.
Right. So if you want to re-experience it, then don't
Don't
change the
change it.
memories.
Matter of fact, remember them, replay them. It's going to make you feel bad for no reason except that you did it.
All right. Yeah. And especially if you're addicted to feeling bad.
Well, it's not really addictive. You have to understand people want to stay in their safe place. They
Okay.
want to stay with what they're familiar with.
Got
They
it.
want to stay with their reality. And by the way, if you come from a crazy reality, it's
Yep.
not a good thing. And you say you want to get rid of it, but if you don't let go what creates it, you're stuck with it.
Right. Well, then how about the scary parts? It's so scary to go in there.
Well, some people pay. Oh, too scared to go inside themselves.
Yeah. Too
Now,
scary to
some
go inside.
some people pay money to go watch scary movies.
Yeah, that's actually true.
But I will say this too. Now there is that. I understand what you're saying. I know there's something really scary. It's so big, so horrible, so frightful. I don't want to get close to it. You can still change it without getting in it. You can still adjust it. Now I will say this too. Remember, what you resist persists. If it's in you, guess where it is? Inside you.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is what I say this is really important. Your worst memory, your worst experience, the most painful thing in your life is your number one healer when you make peace with it. I mean, release it, change it, transform it.
Right.
Of course, a lot of people may not ever experience a real change. I worked with a guy the other day. I mean, he's watched my stuff for years, but he never, he just kind of like tap here and there, he believes in it. But when I did a session on him, he says, I never changed a memory like this. I never had a deep change. Tap to feel better, but not make results because they don't know how to make results. I
Right.
teach a results operating system.
So then what is the key to tapping? Because obviously he didn't connect something.
Well, it's not tapping. Tapping will not work with people unless they do certain things correctly. Another thing about tapping is a psychosensory process used to update inner references. Inner references are not just kinesthetics, which is feelings.
Mm-hmm.
We're using it to address a mind system, memories, internal memories, the visual memories, the auditory memories, the kinesthetic memories, the smell and taste of the memory. So you got to go in and thoroughly update the story. And of course, like I said, I've been doing this for tapping 27 years, working on myself for a long time, 40 years probably. Yeah, 40 years. And knowing how to go and change the cause. Of course, the cause is perception. The cause is the meaning we give to it, and the cause is what we create from that our reality from what we've learned from. So we shift memories, how it's internalized, how it's used against us, and we change the people inside of our memories. Now remember, everything inside you again is yourself. It's not them. Somebody can have a resentment towards their dad or their brother or their mother, and they've been dead for 20 years and they're still pissed off. Who are they pissed off at? Themselves. They're doing this to themselves.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so the key is understanding internal processing. Now, all of you guys, and I know it really happened. I know they were really bad. I know it should have never happened. And it's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's your memories keeping it alive.
Mm-hmm.
Your emotions recycling it.
Mm-hmm.
It's your events that you're holding and captured as souvenirs on the shelf of your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you get that, and everybody knows this truly, everybody knows this. Today is real. Yesterday is gone. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But if you create a movie, you add the emotions and feelings and you put it inside you, you are now, I say, entertaining yourself with bad memories and bad programs and bad feelings. It's not good entertainment, but you know it. You're a good member of the society, good member of the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you want to stay a good member so that you're accepted, so that you're loved.
And also, you're going to, even if everybody's gone, you're still going to replicate what you know.
Right.
Because that is your reality. Now, realities can be adjusted and changed by changing and adjusting memories. So there is this, because remember, when you go to a bad memory or a good memory, you go into what I call an autonomic trance. It automatically feels real and true. Even though it's happened 20 years ago, good or bad, it feels real. This is the mind-body connection. The mind speaks to the body, makes it feel real.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's also a survival system, attraction system. It's a law of attraction working for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's familiar. It's survival,
Right. Yeah.
Let's talk about why tapping works. I think that's really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, like I said, I've been doing the tapping for 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people write me and said, I've been tapping for 10 years. I'm not getting results. I'm doing this. Nothing's working for me. And I tell them, you think tapping's going to solve your problems? It won't. Because I've had, like I said, people tap all day long. You get no changes. Tapping is only as good as the person who's using it and addressing the real cause. All right, what's the real cause? Memories, internal references.
Mm-hmm.
So tapping is only as good as those who are skillful in addressing the real cause. And you have to address how it's internalized in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do notice the kinesthetic, the feelings, the emotions. That is a second response to a primary cause.
Okay. I want to go into that a little bit, because if anyone is searching for any trauma like healing, they'll run across these videos of these somatic healers, and their body is shaking and they're shaking it out. You know, they're working with the body,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it looks like it's working because they're
Mm-hmm.
crying and they're expressing itself, but is it still there? Because they're not addressing the memory, they're addressing the physical body.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because a lot of people, and again, remember, the kinesthetics is a metaphoric expression of memories. You can, what I say, you can put the fire out, because the kinesthetic reaction is a fire in the body, because your mind speaks this way and you're putting this fire out, and there could be a shifting in some parts of it. But the memory, if it's still there, like I've had people who come to me and they've had somatic practices, they did tapping, they did rebirthing, they did, you name it, they did it. And they
Mm-hmm.
say, I feel better. It doesn't impact me. I still don't cry. And I say,
Yeah.
okay, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and go back and remember. And as you remember, what do you remember? How do you internalize it? The memory's still there. As a matter of
Right.
fact, it's still happening inside of their mind. So what they're doing is what you call flattening the curve, but not getting rid of the system.
Got it. Okay.
So that's why a lot of people, they say, I feel better, but it still controls me.
Right. So that would be very similar to plant medicine too. I recently talked to a friend who did some plant medicine. She went for a weekend. They give you a heart opening medicine first, and you have all kinds of crazy experiences. And you go back and you're experiencing all these different memories, but it's different because you're seeing it, and it's like it's going through your mind. Your brain is giving you all this information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very similar, but they're not changing.
Right, right. And you could have a positive experience. You did a rebirthing and falling out of the vagina into a swimming pool, and after it's all over, you'll have a great dinner, you do a drumming, you do a saging, you do whatever you do, you have emotional bonding, which is good, nothing wrong with that. But here's the deal. The key to how the brain works is this. I'm stressed out, I feel bothered.
Mhm.
What does your brain do? Coffee. Oh, I feel good. Go over here and text from my textbook, or smoke a cigarette, drink some whiskey, smoke something, do something. And so we come out in a way and we feel good. It's okay to feel good, but does it change that we're trying to escape? The answer is no.
No.
It could flatten out something, maybe, or nothing at all.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
the true key is the key of all changes. I call it bad, good, and collapsing, which is the colliding together. There we identify, we associate, we come out, we do something that feels good, and then we go back. The going back is the science of updating memories.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, changes in your life, in your memories, is in the details.
Mm-hmm.
It's the details that must be shifted. So here it is. They've done therapies, all kinds of therapies. They come to me. I go in and I check their work, and it's still there. So I finish it up. I clean it up. I adjust it. And we get done. They, in their mind, logically know what happened, but internally there is no happening. They have a different memory. They have a different reference. They have a different way of acting. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's flatlined and then updated to a positive redirection.
Yeah. Yeah. Thoroughly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Wow.
So let me kind of explain the key to tapping. First of all, the most important thing about addressing memories, addressing the cause, is you have to identify something. So once I identify, there's a reference inside you. So you go and you notice a memory, you notice something in the memories precisely. You can notice a feeling, you can notice a face, a facial expression, behavior, a sound, whatever it is. You notice that. And then when you notice that, you're going to notice what it is, and then you're going to move your thoughts away from it, and then we use tapping. Now, the reason is we go inside of the memory, we pick something, we come out and we tap. Let it go, let it go, let it go.
Mm.
Peace. At this point, go to something that makes you feel good, a happy memory, feel good. Then go check. As this process, you go in, you identify, you come out, you relax the mind and the body, you feel good. And when you go back to that memory, this is the bad, good clap. Now you're going in with a positive feeling. And as you introduce this new sensation about the memory, remember you pick something, it's going to flatten that memory out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Neurologically, what you're doing is you identify something, you go and you feel good, and then you go back and check what you're identifying. It's going to flatten that structure out inside the mind. We're talking about images, we're talking about sounds, we're talking about sensations, and we're talking about beliefs, ideologies, and expressions and trading places and the whole system. This is how you update memories. You know, of course, traditional therapies, talking about it, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR, these are slow ways of getting changes. Because I'm an expert of addictions and PTSD, and I ran across Gabor Mate's work,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm listening to him and said, he's got to be listening to my stuff. He says the same thing I do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he sees the pattern, same pattern I do. And again, the difference between him and I, he says microdosing and talk therapy and maybe drugs, antidepressants.
Right. Yes.
So he sees the same system, but
Mm-hmm.
his process of updating and changing
Yeah.
is archaic.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Well,
So
and it's once again, there's ignorance there, the
yeah,
lack of knowledge to see
mhm,
how the brain works.
yeah, and also the belief system, because his belief system is a little bit different than mine. You
Okay.
know, and of course, you're not messed up by your past. You're not. You create
Right.
beliefs, you create identities, and you create processes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, that's a
Right.
big
Yeah.
difference.
That is a big difference to see that differently, that it's
Yeah,
not like, even if it was a dysfunctional family, it's not dysfunctional to your brain. So we're not
no,
labeling it, we're not judging it. There's no judgment.
no,
Yeah.
no. And if you think about addictions or even your problems,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for example, if you're addicted to something, you're not addicted to the something. Your brain is trying to help you to escape what's inside you don't know how to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to an alternative way. Now, of course,
Right.
the alternative way, drinking, smoking, drugging, sexing, whatever you do, has its own path to somewhere dark and dirty. And you're just switching horses. Right. So now it creates a new set of problems. So anyway, so that's how the tapping will work. And the bizarre thing is, when we talk about tapping on yourself, people do not want to change the cause, which is unpleasant memories. And the reason they don't want to change it, because if they change how they feel about Uncle Joe or Bob or whoever, they get away. They get away free. Which
Mm-hmm.
means they think if they hold negative memories about them, that they suffer,
Right.
or
Yeah.
they think they hold these negative memories inside of them. It protects me. It
Yeah.
does none of that. It keeps you locked in to that
Right.
miserable place you said you don't like.
Yeah. Or maybe it's Uncle Bob. They wouldn't believe you that Uncle Bob did that.
Whatever. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be anything, but
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
But you,
You know,
yeah.
but okay, guys. So leave in the comments here something that I helped you with. Give me some tidbits of truth. Tell me what you think about this podcast, and share it with people who have problems. Share it with somebody. Subscribe. Join the training that I have. You can change yourself. Everybody needs that. And my philosophy is learn to like yourself, love yourself from within yourself. All right.
Yeah.
And we'll make a big difference in your life. So, you know, like I said, learn to be nice to you and clean up inside your head. Change what's inside there. And as you do that, your life gets better. And your relationships will improve, your finances will improve, and your health will improve.
That's right. Yeah. Well said.
All right. Thank you guys.
Yes. Thank
Peace.
you. Peace.